Hello tout le monde, bienvenue sur la chaîne Skole Gaming. Skole à tous. Nous démarrons ce deuxième épisode de Vampyr. Vampyr comme on appelle en anglais. En route pour ce let's play. Alors, on en était resté après le bateau. Si je me souviens bien, on avait tué juste la personne qui était là. C'était un bandit qui faisait partie d'un gang. Par contre, à ce que je vois, je n'ai pas fouillé. C'est assez important de fouiller dans le jeu parce que au final ça vous permet de choper du loot. Il permettra par après de faire des ingrédients, des stimulants, des antifatigues. Pour pouvoir soit soigner les gens, soit les épuiser et bien évidemment par la suite de les manger. De les mordre en fait. Allons voir la petite dame.
Doctor, where have you been? I've little time to play hide and seek with new staff members, no matter how illustrious they may be.
I apologize, nurse. I needed some time to myself. This has been the longest and strangest night of my life.
You delivered poor Mr. Hampton from a terrible fate. The means to that end should be of little concern, Doctor.
Thank you, nurse. What can I do for you?
Dr. Swansea insisted we provide you a quiet office. You'll find it on the second floor with your name on the door.
Thank you. Nurse Crane, isn't it?
Yes, Dorothy Crane. Welcome to Pembroke Hospital, Dr. Reed. Your office has been prepared.
I would like to ask a few questions first.
Espérons qu'on peut avoir quelques petits indices.
What kind of man is Dr. Swansea?
Well, you accepted the job from him. I thought you would have known about your employer.
Apologies, I've only just met him the once. This is sudden. I've only just returned to England.
Dr. Swansea is a brilliant surgeon and the most compassionate physician.
It's right to assume Dr. Swansea knows far more about me than I do about him.
You'll get to know him soon enough, and better than me. The administrator has better things to do than mix with us.
And Mr. Hampton, the patient we brought in, how does he fare?
I gave him a sedative to help him sleep. Poor thing was in quite a state of shock.
Thank you, Nurse Crane.
Alors je lui ai pas demandé où était mon bureau parce qu'au final elle l'a dit juste avant. Donc ça sert pas vraiment à grand chose de leur faire une conversation.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm new here.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks, the ambulance driver for this shithole of a hospital.
That's quite a blunt
T'as
introduction.
pas un peu la marque du Japon?
You can call me Milton. I like to speak my mind, Dr. Reed. Perk of the job. Don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be used as a surgical instrument.
You have a keen eye. I learned to shoot during the war, and have carried one ever since. Old habits die hard.
No need to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever need a better gun, remember, I may have something for you.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right? It's fucking awful. We lack everything. And it's getting worse every day.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I guess. I'll bring sick people here night and day. It's a dirty job, but I get it done. Most of the time.
Since you're on the front line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing here. I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital? That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
Alors, investigation locale. Une nouvelle enquête sur les citoyens est possible. Appuyez sur le pavé tactile pour ouvrir le menu des investigations locales. Ok. C'est ici que vous pouvez consulter les enquêtes sur les citoyens triées par quartier. Vous pouvez démarrer une nouvelle mission de citoyen en la suivant avec carré, puis en consultant votre carte pour afficher la zone à explorer. Ok. D'accord. Donne après. Ah, il faut des indices. Ok.
I'd like to
Qu'est-ce
see
qu'il y a
your
avant
goods.
lui?
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Ah, ça c'est pas mal ça. C'est cher. Hein. Ok. Allez. Bon, je vous rassure, on va pas faire tous les personnes à l'hôpital. Je me suis dit tant qu'à faire, il était devant moi.
Dr. Swansea is right. This place seems
Et une
perfect
ou
to
deux
conduct my
personnes et
research.
après.
Good evening, miss.
On
I'm
dirait un
Dr.
peu une
Reed,
mort vivante.
the
Hein.
new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Ah ah ah. Ok. Elle est plus haut level que moi.
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Nouvelle enquête. Mauvaise cible.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
It was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
D'autres, ok. Ah, ça a augmenté, c'est plus 1000, c'est 1250. Donc, je pense via par les indices. Ok, j'en ai 1 sur 3. Ok, ok.
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your medicine, Dr. Reed. Blood is the only drug I need.
Ok.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities. This must be the place. It's definitely away from prying eyes. Relegated to the shadows. A kingdom of my own. At least I won't be sleeping in a coffin.
Vous pouvez améliorer votre arme au niveau supérieur avec des ingrédients requis. Elle infligera plus de dégâts et également des emplacements de personnalisation. Ok, bon, on va augmenter la hache. Ça a l'air pas mal la hache. Ouais, ça c'est pas énorme, hein. On peut l'améliorer, non du tout.
William Bishop's blood is much more unstable than human blood and shows extensive mutation. But this is not what happened to me. I must keep on searching. The sun is about to rise. I can feel it. I'll continue tomorrow night. I have so much time now.
Yeah, mes yeux sont pas mal, personne ne me remarque. Personne ne le remarque, mes yeux sont assez bizarres. c'était bien comme pouvoir, ça. Vous foncez sur votre cible avec une vitesse surnaturelle et lui atterrissez dessus pour infliger des dégâts. 20 de dégâts. Bon, c'est pas non plus folichon. Mais voilà, c'est pas mal. Ça permet d'aller beaucoup plus rapidement sur un ennemi, ça c'est... Est-ce que je le prends maintenant? Non, je pense pas. Écoutez, je vais prendre ça plutôt. C'est quoi? Ça augmente la quantité de dégâts infligés lorsque vous utilisez mention. Non. Ok. Bon. Je crois qu'on a tout. Ok. Événement majeur dans le quartier. Chaque nuit, les conséquences de vos actes peuvent améliorer ou dégrader la situation sanitaire du quartier. Celle-ci peut aussi se détériorer si des maladies se propagent parmi ses citoyens. Ah, d'accord, ok. Ok. Donc en fait, il faut faire attention aux maladies. Et par exemple, là, je viens de tuer quelqu'un d'un gang. Ça leur a permis d'être peut-être un peu mieux. Événement majeur dans le quartier. Plus vous tuerez de citoyens, plus un quartier deviendra insalubre. Ah, ok. Ah, merde. Si la situation sanitaire d'un quartier tombe sous le seuil critique, ce quartier plongera dans le chaos. Il n'appartient qu'à vous de décider du sort d'un quartier. Ça l'a augmenté, puis ça l'a baissé. Bon. Ok. Niveau 1 du charme.
If I'm to stay here until my research is complete, I'd better learn to hide my true nature from the mortals. But what about my thirst for blood? Yes, Nurse Crane? How can I help you?
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted. I was hoping there was another box up here, but...
Alors, cette pièce est
Nurse,
interdite.
this room is off limits, and I'd prefer to keep it that way. Make sure the rest of the staff are so informed.
Of course, Doctor. And what about the antiseptics? Or do I inform the staff that you're too busy?
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits to overcome the shortages.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't have. Everything used to be stored in the old morgue.
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been sealed off for sanitary reasons. Take this key. It opens a small back entrance at the end of a narrow street.
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. A small door at the end of a narrow street. On my way then. Thank you, nurse.
Bon. Vas-y, hein. Fait combien de dégâts celle-là? J'ai de la chance de regarder parce que bon.
Not now.
Ouais, on peut sortir par là.
I cannot enter. Skule voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
Voilà. Vous les poubelles. Ouais. Niveau 6 et niveau 7. Okay. Bon, tu veux d'abord le niveau 6. Ouais, quelque chose d'intéressant là. C'est bien sombre, hein. Pas mal. Ah, c'est là. J'ai les yeux comment là? Ah ouais, non. J'adore les détails du jeu, il est quand même bien fait. Ah, après on va essayer d'aller dans le jardin trouver ce portefeuille.
Balls of Mars, fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But they do contain iron tartrate, and that might prove itself useful. to the infected William Bishop.
Ah, c'est
Must be
seulement
the
quand
same
j'ai vaincu.
strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza. It's locked.
Ok. Ah, tiens. Ouais. J'ai récupéré la clé, si je ne me trompe pas du système. Non? Ah non. On peut avoir pour la deuxième fois. Doit être là, la clé. Ouais.
This key will surely grant me access to the basement.
Troisième fois. J'en ai 2 ans, 3, hein, comme on dit. C'est la barre rouge qui augmente. Ok. J'ai vu quelqu'un se téléporter là. J'ai pas rêvé. J'ai rêvé.
These skulls feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood. It's locked, all right.
Ah bah oui. Forcément, un beau coffre comme ça.
Mr. Connor's injury. Don't match the report. I'd better look into this. Multiple abrasions and scarring on the arms and legs.
Old and distinctive injuries of a sailor or a fisherman. Traces of a pinkish foam at the corner of the lips. Some sort of drug overdose, perhaps? The chest was originally opened to perform the operation. The sutures are clean, but the chest has been reopened. A puncture over the left lung, possibly a chest tube insertion. Not the cleanest work, but I think it was successful. Signs of internal bleeding. So, Dr. Tippett's anesthetics were incorrectly dosed, causing the patient's death. And then, he tried to operate on him again. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked.
Ouais, bah bien eu. Ah, le pilier.
These skulls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. To drink blood is so tempting.
Sodium hypochlorite. Dangerous to administer, but efficient in the proper dosage.
Regardons vite fait s'il n'y a pas autre chose. Bon, voilà, je passerai pas là. Voilà. Nous on la voie la plus rapide. Vous avez assez d'ingrédients pour fabriquer un médicament de traitement pour la fatigue. On va la garder pour l'instant. On sait jamais. J'ai pas beaucoup d'ingrédients donc du coup gardons-les. Vite fait. chose en plus en particulier? Oui, bah, hop là. C'est mon cyclope là. Alors, on va pas y aller tout de suite. Ça c'est pour la gueule. Okay. Je souhaiterais trouver le portefeuille qui se trouve dans le jardin. Alors pour moi le jardin, on est d'accord, c'est ici. Qu'est-ce que c'est comme affiche? Quarantaine, ok. Et ça. Quarantaine, maladie contagieuse, ok. C'est pour rentrer. Que il y a par cette vue là? Non. Rien. Il y a un petit peu. J'avais une tête sur le radar. Maintenant je l'ai plus. C'est quoi? C'est... Ouais, c'est ça. Ah, ok. Photographie d'un couple amoureux souriant avec quelques mots inscrits recto, Milton et Pipa pour toujours. Ok, bon, j'ai trouvé. Rapporter le portefeuille à son propriétaire. Milton et Pipa. On peut le tuer. Hein. C'est un peu chiant de te faire avoir comme ça, je sais pas.
Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate. It's locked.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana. pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean, you used to be a doctor? Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof. No soul anymore. All gone.
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people fear, or at least have a respect, for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to tame, not death itself.
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks. A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
A funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
Oui, quand même niveau 4. Hein. Bilan de santé, en bonne santé, ok. 3000 d'XP. Hein.
A pawnbroker? I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No. I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
Do you really believe goodwill cannot last?
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is, we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
So you're ready to die?
No, I am not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
Please show me.
Qu'est-ce qu'il a à vendre?
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. but I'm sure they can be useful.
Ah, ce sont des... Ok. Des opium. Pas mal ça, c'est bien ça. Ok. Je vais en acheter. Où est notre cher gardien là? Ah ouais, c'est un vrai escroc ce Multanox. Allons le voir. Je rentre dans l'hôpital. Je veux l'entrée principale.
Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new surgeon here at the Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke Hospital.
Did he really? It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of staff have already read about your new blood transfusion technique. Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm a little surprised, but I suppose I'll just have to deal with this unexpected notoriety.
You must know, blood transfusions are Dr. Swansea's primary subject of research. He is convinced it is the future.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're struggling against an invisible enemy, more lethal than any bullet from a gun. It's hard, Doctor.
An invisible enemy? Quite a poetic term for a disease, especially from a nurse.
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks have been exhausting. We could all do with a good night's sleep.
Do you think this hospital can survive the epidemic?
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast, but how do we beat an invisible killer? Some nurses have already resigned.
I'm not familiar with all the staff yet. Perhaps you could help me.
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Dr. Swansea has a gift for recruiting talent.
Most of them? Is there a problem I should know about, nurse?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill of a colleague.
Is there anyone that stands out?
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated as Dr. Tippett's. He should be a standard for us all here. If only he were younger.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always pushing himself to the limits. He just doesn't know when to stop and get some rest.
Ouais, Dr. Tippett, encore une fois, hein.
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know something, please tell me. Anything you say will be held in confidence.
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Tell me what Dr. Tippets did. I know his mistake caused a patient's death.
If I had not covered up his error, Dr. Tippets would have been fired from this hospital. I could not let that happen.
You can't allow your emotions to dictate your conduct concerning patients, Nurse Brannigan.
Look around you, Dr. Reed. Do you really think we can afford to lose a brilliant practitioner like Dr. Tippets in our situation?
To clear Dr. Tippets' name must be the decision of Dr. Swansea. You can't take matters into your own hands.
I respect Dr. Swansea's authority and management, but he's no idea what happens here on a daily basis. I did what I had to do.
Okay.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
C'est important en fait de parler aux gens parce que tu découvres des indices sur certaines personnes que tu t'en rendrais pas compte.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet with all the money and a certain picture.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin colour that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
Tell me why you're extorting money from some of the patients here.
If a patient wants a bed, he'll have to pay me a little fee. That's all.
Where did you get the idea for such an immoral scam?
Funny you should ask. The first time it was from a patient who bribed me to get a bed. It's only then I realized I could make a fortune.
What's going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other. And that's all that matters.
Goodbye, Milton.
Ah, Dr.
Good
Tippett.
evening, sir.
So it is true.
Voilà.
The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippets, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
It's not exactly the best situation in London either. I can't have expected this hospital to be prepared for what was to come.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire
Il est un peu
her
amoureux, je
skills.
crois, hein.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah, yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
J'adore
No.
cet effet.
We must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
Your attitude is irresponsible, Doctor. Believe me, I've seen so many medical errors caused by exhaustion during the war.
You're right. This is a war, Dr. Reed, and I don't intend to surrender.
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
He was my patient. He died because of my mistake. That's the blunt truth.
Why not stop practicing?
Are you mad? I killed that man, I admit it, and it won't happen again. I have saved so many lives since then.
What was the nature of the mistake?
It was a twofold error. My diagnosis was wrong, and the administered dosage was too strong.
Who was this patient?
I don't know. Some sick man from the docks, maybe a fisherman. I had no time to talk with him. No one claimed a body.
Coup de parlotte au début, hein.
I will cover for you, Dr. Tippets, by keeping what happened to Mr. Connor to myself.
I don't know what to say, actually. I can't exactly force you to become my accomplice.
You didn't force me. This is my decision to make. I believe you're still of use to the hospital, considering the situation.
Then I can make you this promise. As soon as the epidemic is eradicated, I will resign.
Voyons voir. 1850, je pense pas que tu prendras ta retraite. Je t'assure. Je pense d'abord que je vais te manger, ça c'est sûr.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippets.
Bon allez, assez de parlotte pour le moment. On va se rendre... Ah quoique, attendez.
Must prove what we are capable of.
C'est pas la...
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
C'est la nana de l'autre?
Why does Dr. Tippets claim you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippets does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Ah, 5 quand même. Mais ouais, elle atteint pratiquement les 4000 XP. Hein.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Bon. Ok. Invoquer un traitement pour la fatigue, ça je peux le faire au-dessus. Ah, Dorothy, elle est là.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
Alors, les maladies font baisser la qualité de sang des citoyens. Soignez-les avec les bons médicaments. Parlez au patient dans la pièce située derrière Dorothy pour voir son état de santé. D'accord, ok. Bon, déjà, on va parler à la dame.
Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
I'm all right. Don't...
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here, then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Vous êtes entre de bonnes mains. Pas de soucis.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox,
But rest assured, you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
I'm all right.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Ok.
I have to go
Je vais
now,
juste
sir.
voir si je peux le bouffer.
But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Dr. Reed, may I help you?
What can you tell me about our patients here at Pembroke?
This hospital was founded to...
Can you be more specific?
Well, veterans, the elderly, dock workers.
Well, Dr. Swansea certainly has confidence in your abilities. Are you in charge of the nursing staff?
Not in an official capacity, but the Pembroke doesn't always work above board, so to speak.
Elle avait dit quel nom de nouveau
I'll see you later, Nurse Crane.
Déjà, je sais qu'il y avait lui.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Admit it. Nurse Hawkins is more than your lover. She's also your partner in crime.
Of course she is.
Hawkins.
How else could I tell which bed is free? I need to know that.
Have you no shame?
Don't you see this city is crumbling down? Today, people are ready to pay to get a hospital bed. Tomorrow, we may be fighting for food.
Pas le bouffer, hein.
Goodbye, Milton.
Ouais, elle est là.
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
How would you describe the situation?
Ne l'attaquons pas tout de suite.
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
I don't like your attitude, Nurse Hawkins. Pessimism can be as lethal as the epidemic in times like these.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep
Oui.
talk like Nurse Brannigan.
Moi, tu parles pas comme ça. Tu me parles pas comme ça, je suis un médecin.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis? Is it just an act?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or not.
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Pippa, I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes, Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel
Vous
free.
dénoncez.
I have no intention
Mais
of
non, c'est
reporting
pas mon
this
genre
case.
du tout.
But are you aware of the risks?
Surtout vous
The
bouffez,
rules say
ouais.
I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke. But we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
Milton cheats patients out of their money at this hospital, Pippa. Are you his accomplice?
Yes, I am.
Is this your definition of being useful? By abusing the sick and poor?
No. It is my definition of getting out of this useless life once and for all.
Why do you do it?
Why not? Most of the sick who paid for a bed are already dead, or will be soon. Don't you see the futility of all this?
How can you be affected by the misery around you, and be so heartless at the same time? Which is the real you, Nurse Hawkins?
I could ask you the same question, Dr. Reed. Are you more real when you lie to a dying patient, or when you grant him useless medication?
Whose idea was it?
What difference does it make? We did it together, and I'm guilty as charged.
Answer my question.
It was my idea first, even though Milton would say it was his, to protect me.
Ah, pardon.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Retournons voir une dernière fois cet homme.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening,
Et
Doctor.
dès que je
Still
peux le
trying to
bouffer,
save
je le
lives.
bouffe. Hein. Bah, j'ai pas découvert un truc sur lui?
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
Ça, c'est son excuse.
Do you need any medical help, Milton?
I'm fine, Doc. Physically, at least. But I would give everything to be in a better place right now.
Je peux toujours pas.
Goodbye, Milton.
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea. But my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a gift from heaven.
There is an absurd poetry to my situation. Physician, heal thyself.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please, call me Edgar.
I'm not some doe-eyed student, Edgar. I understand we both have something to gain from this relationship.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require all your newfound skills.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has found herself in a bit of a bind. Now, if you could help her out...
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my calling. And until I come to understand what has happened to me, I require discretion.
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury has recently received rather indelicate correspondence that, if revealed, would jeopardize her position.
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not. I would just like you to pay her a visit. Her ladyship is certainly near the tents outside, tending the sick. You can't miss her. Look for someone impossibly delicate.
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury is in.
Do you need something, Jonathan?
I have just a few questions.
Then ask away. I'm at your service, Doctor.
Since I'm the one working for you, what should I know about Pembroke Hospital?
Well, for many years, we have been the only medical facility in this part of town that people can rely on. We support the community here, as well as provide health care.
Where do we stand today?
Oh, to be honest, we cope on a day-to-day basis. The first wave of the Spanish flu last summer took us by surprise. We lack many of the basic necessities needed.
What do you expect of me?
What we need is hope. You were a soldier. This is a war. This white coat's still a uniform. We fight to help the poor, the sick of the East End, the forgotten.
You mentioned something about a secret society. A brotherhood, if I recall. Could you elaborate?
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole for several years. We are pledged to monitor and report vampire activity in England as impartial scientific observers.
That explains your nightly wanderings about the docks and the questions you ask.
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that part of town. There was something as yet unseen that set those chain of events in motion.
Yet you don't fear me. And still, you know the monster that lurks beneath the civilized surface.
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for centuries. We believe you are as supernatural as a lion is to a gazelle.
Since you seem quite the expert on vampires, what could you tell me about my condition and how it came about?
As men of science, our first step is always to start with what we know. Forget the myths, the hackneyed scrawlings, and the penny dreadfuls. They do not scratch the surface of the truth you now find yourself in.
The sun. The morning following my transformation. Its rays burned me. There was pain, smoke, and my skin blackened.
You will find there is very little that can kill a vampire, my friend. You have been offered relative immortality. The sun will most certainly hurt you, leaving you weakened and damaged, but it will not destroy you.
Oh, d'accord, okay.
Must I take a life to live?
You are a vampire. You feed, and blood is the sole sustenance that can sustain your immortal frame. And only a living creature contains the nourishment you require.
The man we pursued and slew in the canning factory, William Bishop, I believe, was he a vampire?
He was a skule, technically speaking. The debate rages as to their classification. Some think them a subspecies of vampire, others something else.
How do skulls come into existence?
The name means slave. The etymology may indicate that they are a lesser species of vampire. From what I know, vampires tend to despise them.
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a skule?
A skule is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires... Now, vampires exist beyond the mortal realm.
Okay.
We'll see each other again soon, Edgar.
Nous en savons un petit peu plus sur le vampire. Sur les skulls aussi. Voilà. Alors ça je vais prendre, ça c'est obligatoire. Voilà ce qui va terminer le deuxième épisode de ce let's play de Vampyr. En tout cas, ce fut un plaisir. Je vous remercie. Retrouvez toujours les vidéos sur Skole Gaming. N'hésitez pas à vous abonner, à commenter pour nous donner des conseils et dire ce que vous en pensez, et à liker si ça vous a plu. Merci en tout cas à vous.